Today I'm gonna read my Kali the Talking Fish tale for you. So here's Kali. Once upon a time there lived a talking fish. She loved naming things, and she gave herself a name, Kali, so that she could talk to herself, as there was no one else around to talk to. The other fish were opening and closing their mouths in silence, while letting out an occasional bubble of air. Kali was used to it. She also talked to the rocks and seaweed, dancing with their long strands in the warm undercurrents of the ocean water. What Kali did not know was that on the other side of the big rock that she hung around all the time lived a small crab who had the same gift of speech, and he called himself Hank. So here's the crab. Hank loved fish. Now that was not approved of by the fellow crab community, which always tried to keep the fish away from stealing their sea worms and mollusks under their noses, right after all that hard work of crushing the shells to get to the yummy part. All crabs around waved their pincers in anger, snapping at the little thieves, while Hank was so fascinated by the silvery, agile dance of the swimmers, so wanting to join them, he threw the worms which he dug out of mud up into the currents to invite more fish, explaining to them how he wished he could grab onto their tails and fins and go along on a swim up higher and higher towards the light. Some fish, scared of his frantic gestures, scattered away. Others, attracted by the free food, gathered around Hank, opening and closing their mouths in silence, while letting out an occasional bubble of air. And then Hank would jump up as high as he could with all his legs, and float back down for a minute or two, enjoying the rub of the slim silver bodies, carrying him on for a little longer ride before he would touch the ocean floor again. One day the currents changed and carried Kali a little further around the big rock, closer to where Hank was explaining to his fish followers once again his desire to swim with them to the light. Kali heard Hank speak, and she was so amazed and delighted that she swam right into the silver flock of Hank's following, right into the opening of his pincers, and offered him to hold tight to her fin, so that she could swim him up to the light. They held onto each other tight, and they looked into each other's eyes, which was not easy since Kali's eyes were on the opposite sides of her head. But because Hank's eyes were protruding on little stems, he could hold her gaze anyhow. So there they are, together, swimming to the light. And they talked and talked, naming all the things around them, and they swam with the currents among the long strands of seaweed, up and up towards the light. They felt their hearts swell with love for each other, and the higher they rose, the more love their hearts made, until it spilled all over them, creating a shiny bubble of love that was now enveloping them tightly and carrying them even higher to the surface of the ocean, through the waves of that surface, up into the air, towards the big, bright sun. So high that they could see the ocean from up above, far beneath them, and the clouds surrounding their bubble of love, and the big sun lighting it all from above. And Hank, looking into Kali's eyes, said, "I love you." And Kali said, "I love you too." And Hank thought, This cannot be better. And Kali thought, impossible. I'm so high up in the air. And then the bubble burst. And as the bubble burst, Hank's pincers lost their grip on Kali's fins, and both of them started falling, gently and slowly, through the clouds, down towards the ocean waves, losing sight of each other, but still protected by the love in their hearts. And as Kali hit the surface of the water, she turned into a mermaid. And here's she. Mermaid. And Hank, in that same instant, turned into a sea lion. Now both Hank and Kali could dive deep towards the ocean floor, swim with fish, play with long strands of seaweed, come to the surface to breathe air, and have their faces warmed up by sunshine. They could sing their songs to the stars and the moon at night and play with big ocean waves. But could they recognize each other now? All Hank could remember and love was Kali the fish, and all Kali could remember and love was Hank the crab. So that's the little book.